Let's talk about how animal communication can help with behavioral issues in pets. You might have an issue that is just driving you crazy, and you've tried everything you can think of, and training hasn't worked, and maybe this is your last resort. There are ways, though, that animal communication can help with this that are different than traditional kinds of training. And that's because we can ask your animal what they're feeling and what they're going through. The first question I always ask about a behavior is, why are you doing this? And what does it feel like when you do this behavior? There can be a need that is not getting met, and they're using this behavior to let you know or as a way of acting out. So, if there is something they need, we can find an alternative way for them to get that need met so they don't have to do this behavior anymore. When I tune in to how an animal feels, sometimes there is a lot of panic or a lot of stress that they feel when they're doing a behavior that we don't want them to do. They probably don't want to do that either. They don't want to feel stressed. They don't want to feel anxious. So I try to help them through those feelings and see if we can come up with a different way for them to cope. The main thing about animal communication is to focus on the positive side. So, what we do want the animal to do rather than telling them to stop something. It's very hard to say, don't do this anymore. Don't bark at the neighbors. Don't pee inside. Don't. Sometimes they don't hear that part. Just like people, if you're reinforcing don't do something, you're still saying it over and over again. And so that message of that thing is still there. When I'm working with a client, I ask them, what can we tell your pet to do instead? And come up with a new plan. And then I show them an image of them doing this new behavior. And I also like to have some kind of trigger. So I can show them, when this happens, then you do this thing. This is obviously a choice. I can ask your animal and I can tell them what we want them to do, but they may or may not listen. They still have free will, so I can't guarantee that we can change their behavior, but it can help you to understand them and know how to deal with the issue alongside them. So hopefully you can work together to figure that out. I want to give you a story about a client that I worked with who had a dog who was constantly begging at the dinner table, and it was becoming a real problem for them. And when I asked the dog why she was doing this, she said she wanted attention because they like the cat better than her. And they did confirm, yeah, the cat kind of comes first. So dinner time was a time that everyone was sitting down, they were together, they were quiet, and that was when the dog chose to kind of step in and ask for that attention, because they were obviously already distracted and not paying attention to the cat. So the plan that we came up with was that when they would sit down to dinner, the dog would go to her dog bed, that she would go to her place. So sitting down to a meal is the trigger. So when that happens, the dog goes and lays on her bed. So we give her that alternative and then let her know that she's going to get playtime as soon as they're finished. And so the really important part too is for the pet parent to follow through and actually give them that attention. And it's going to take some repetition because obviously they may have trouble sitting still, because they don't know yet or don't trust yet that they're really going to get the attention and the play and the activity that they want afterwards. So I can tell them and I can give the clients some practical things that they can do. And I like to think that that just gives a foundation to help dealing with these issues. So I'm always willing to work with a client, and I think it is an awesome idea to use an animal communicator to find out why an animal is doing a certain behavior. Another reason that comes up is often anxiety, that they're having some kind of anxiety. And so, really, in order to change the behavior, you need to come up with a way to address that and help with the feelings that they're having. And just knowing that comes from a different place rather than getting angry with them, but sympathizing and then figuring out a way to make them feel better. If you have any questions or if you want to know about ways to help with your behavioral issues with your pets, you can find me at intuitivedenise.com. Declan says he highly recommends, right?